This Halloween, ghoul all out with Instacart. Whether you're hunting for the perfect costume, eyeing that giant bag of candy, or casting spells with eerie decor, we've got it all in one place. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time, minimum $10 per order, service fees, other fees, and additional terms apply. Instacart, bringing the store to your door this Halloween.
7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Ciara Revin, and this is the Sunday 7.
On today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we find out why New York's rats are going on the pill, get a guide from Guyatt on how to handle Meta's AI, find out more about mushroom-based leather, and head to Colorado for tarantula mating season. If you're enjoying this episode, please do like and share, or maybe even leave a review. We're here 7 days a week with the 7 biggest stories every morning at 7 a.m. on the Smart 7. But before we get started on this day in 1997, American biology professor Stanley B. Prusiner won the Nobel Prize for Medicine for discovering prions. The name stands for a proteinaceous infectious particle, and they're described as an entirely new genre of disease-causing agents. They've been identified as causing brain diseases like BSC, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, and a disease in New Guinea known as Peru. They're highly resistant to destruction and are too small to be seen with a normal microscope. This week saw the UK become one of the first major economies in the world to formally step away from coal power. Coal-fired power plants have been under increasing scrutiny because of their contribution to global warming, as they have a substantial carbon footprint. So on Monday, the last UK coal plant at Ratcliffe-on-Soar was formally shut down, ending a 142-year relationship with coal.
We're ready to go, lads. We've got shutdown available. Yep. Last time. Okay, Unit 4, shutting down. In a second. That's it. Offload. The 30th of September, 15:35, Ratcliffe Power Station, Unit 4, offload. Right, boys, that's the end of coal in the UK for electricity.
Baroness Worthington of clean energy think tank Ember says it's a significant day.
Truly is historic, actually, and it has got global implications. The UK was the home of the Industrial Revolution. The fact that we've now completed our transition away from coal-fired power stations and shutting down our coal-fired steel plant, the world has noticed, and it's right that we showed leadership and moved ahead and changed things and moved to cleaner systems.
Secretary of State for Energy and Net Zero Ed Milliband recognised the historical significance of the coal industry for the UK.
I want to pay tribute to the workers there and to generations of coal workers who have powered our country ever since in 1882 the world's first coal-fired power station opened. Now, of course, the transition away from coal is a major moment in the UK's journey to tackle the climate crisis, but it is also a moment to recognise the importance of secure energy for our country and of good jobs for workers. That's why this government has a plan to make Britain a clean energy superpower. So we do create that energy security in the future, and we do create the good energy jobs in carbon capture and storage, nuclear and renewables.
Then on Friday, he also announced a new scheme which will see the government invest £22 billion into carbon capture, intended to create thousands of jobs on Teesside and Merseyside. The carbon clusters will capture emissions from energy, industry and hydrogen production and store it deep underground underneath Liverpool Bay and the North Sea. Milliband says it's the beginning of a new phase of green job creation.
Today, a new era begins. A new era of a new industry, carbon capture and storage, capturing the carbon and burying it underground rather than going up into the atmosphere. It's about good jobs across the country, and it's about a sign of where this government stands, which is we are going to invest in the future of this country. We were elected to change things in a positive way. We were elected to grow our economy, to create good jobs, to give us energy security in a new era, and that is what we're determined to do.
It's time to catch up on what's been going on in the world of big tech, where we find Meta back in the spotlight again over data, fake news and their big AI plans for your content. There's only one man we trust to go toe-to-toe with Mark Zuckerberg, and that's our very own tech guru, Will Guyatt. Hey Will, so lots of Meta news this week. Mark Zuckerberg is having trouble down under. Is that right? What is Fire?
It's been a busy week for Zuck. Meta's rolling out a load of new tools to block bad content on the platform, but this is mostly about Meta attempting to get in front of new laws around the world that would put them on the hook for not protecting users and keeping them safe from dodgy activity. Fire is the fraud intelligence reciprocal exchange tool, and it's been operating in Australia for a while.
So Australia is getting tools to tackle deep fakes and scams. What about us?
Down under, this tool is already being used by the Australian Financial Crimes Exchange, who've got Meta to remove over 100 different celeb bait scams since April. These are those ads or posts that use famous people and AI to make Aussies think that Mel Gibson or Nicole Kidman is attempting to sell them a whole new kind of cryptocurrency. In Australia alone, it's suggested that almost 60% of crypto ads on Facebook and Instagram are fake. Now, 2 UK banks are now currently testing Fire, and it's going to roll out to more over the next couple of months, which is good news.
Can we expect more bad actors to use Facebook and Meta to influence the US elections?
Am I the only person who thinks of Roger Moore whenever anybody talks about bad actors? Probably. But we're now getting closer to the US election, and we've already seen various Republican influencers being paid via shadowy Russian-owned agencies to post anti-Harris content, and no doubt we'll see more stories like this in the weeks ahead. Meta currently has a dedicated team working on the US elections, removing deepfake content and misinformation that attempts to influence votes.
And after the launch of the concept version of the new Meta Orient glasses, there's a pretty interesting story from 2 students who worked out how to use Meta glasses in a worrying way, right?
A pair of Harvard students have modded the existing £300 Meta smart glasses from Ray-Ban to scan the faces of people they see, but also to use that data to find their name, phone number and address. These students created the Eye X-Ray project to raise awareness of what's possible with Meta's tech. The pair claim a recent test saw them identify dozens of people in public within several minutes of wearing them and walking down the street. Photos and details of these people that the glasses had seen were then shared with their smartphone. The privacy implications of this hack are likely to have Zuck and the team at Meta breaking out in a cold sweat.
Can we expect that everyone is going to be able to see everything through their fancy glasses in the future? Surely that will lead to more legal issues for big tech.
Absolutely. Some would argue we're already being surveilled and monitored at every step and don't need people with body-worn devices adding to this situation. Wearable tech companies always say they take people's privacy seriously. While laws in most countries say you can currently legally wear and use Meta glasses, the rest of us still have the expectation of privacy as a legal right. So this feels like another head-to-head legal tussle waiting to happen.
And finally, we talked last week about the Meta viral post from people asking Mr. Zuckerberg not to use their content. But it's not simple to actually opt out, is it?
Bizarrely, I just received an email from Meta a couple of hours ago, which invited me to learn how they were using my information to expand their AI. But instead of switching an option on or off like you would have previously done on any other platform, Meta helpfully tells you that you have the right to object to them using your material to train their AI by using their form. It says it will then look at your objection before taking your posts and information out of its AI program if it agrees with your objection. And intriguingly, it says you don't have to submit again if you haven't heard from them. It sounds like it might be a busy 10,000 years or so for one office intern in Menlo Park, California.
Can you give us a quick how-to guide?
Unfortunately, there is nothing quick about this, and I believe that's Meta's intention. It also says that if you don't have other Instagram or Facebook accounts enrolled in the same account center profile, you're going to do this multiple times. Convenient that. However, if you are looking to stop Meta using your public posts and data, you'll need to be on a computer to do this. Using the app will not do. Firstly, log into your Facebook account. Then select Settings and Privacy. Then go to Privacy Center. Scroll down the page to What is the privacy policy and what does it cover? You should then see a link labelled AI at Meta. Then read the lengthy post and submit what you considered a valid reason to object to Meta using your data in their AI model. Click Submit and then wait, possibly forever. If you weren't counting, that's 8 steps. It should be 2, maybe 3 at most. Shame on you, Meta.
Still to come on the Sunday 7, why New York rats are going on the pill and the firm turning mushrooms into leather. New York is known for many things, as the Big Apple is the home of Broadway and the Statue of Liberty, but also rats. We've seen many New York rats over the years, in movies, in real life, and occasionally on social media. For example, who can forget Pizza Rat dragging a slice of pepperoni pizza into the subway. Last year, troubled New York Mayor Eric Adams appointed the city's first ever rat czar, Kathleen Corradi, whose mission was to tackle the Big Apple's rodent problem. Her first priority has been to remove trash bags from the street with the rollout of curbside bin collection, but she says the problem is bigger than that.
Pizza rat may live in infamy, but rats and the conditions that support their thriving will no longer be tolerated in New York City. No more dirty curbs, unmanaged spaces, or brazen burrowing. Rats are the symptom of systemic issues, including sanitation, health, housing, and economic justice. As New York City's first director of rodent mitigation, I will bring a science and systems-based approach to reducing New York City's rat population.
The traditional approach of poison or traps has proved to be ineffective, so now New York is trialling a new idea, which is to put rats on the pill. It's a bold idea, but it could prove to be a more humane approach to reducing the population, particularly as rats are prolific breeders, able to turn out litters of 6 to 8 babies every 8 weeks. Oliver Moore is an urban affairs reporter for the Decibel, and he explains how the system will work.
I think it's a drug that's not legal in Canada, but that it would reduce the sperm in the male rats and put the female rats into early menopause. And so we'll see. I mean, that has to jump a couple of hurdles. There has to be approved for use, and that has to actually be deployed, and then we'll see the result.
New York isn't the only city exploring the contraception option, with Baltimore City Council also investigating the potential for new population control methods. It's not necessarily a pill, by the way. It's delivered as a sweet liquid that rats will be happy to consume. City Council member Phylicia Porter says it's been effective in other cities, but it does require regulatory clearance.
Contrapest is one of the main ingredients for rat birth control that has seen a 90% effectiveness in other cities like San Francisco and New York. Has the city of Baltimore explored that option?
The issue that we have is our permit allows us to have certain types of poisons and bait, so we have to look into how we can use that.
One of the inspirations for New York's new approach was the death of a New York icon, Flacco the Owl, who died after consuming rat poison. Rita McMahon of the Wild Bird Fund says it's time for a more humane approach.
There has to be another way to deal with the rats. And the raptors themselves deal with them very well, but we shouldn't be poisoning those very animals that are keeping them at bay. And with this pilot program, we're hopeful that could be a wonderful way to rid ourselves of rodenticide poisoning.
Leather has long been a problematic fabric, whether it's because it's loved by rockers and bikers or because it's literally the hide of an animal, but there are plenty of reasons not to like it. But we've had a long-term love affair with the material, even though it's one of the materials with the highest carbon footprints. Now a unique new approach could see convincing artificial leather made from mushrooms. It seems insane, but using the fungus mycelium, scientists at the tech startup Mycoworks have come up with a way to grow artificial leather, as CEO Scullin explains.
Mycelium and the proprietary fine mycelium that we make here at Mycoworks, you can think of as the root structure of mushrooms. It's a fine network of cells that are typically found in the forest floor, but which we at Mycoworks have found ways to harness and engineer into very strong, dense materials that have tunable properties. So we can make leather-like materials, but that's really a starting point. Initially, there was some anti-leather backlash that was met with an influx of new quote-unquote vegan leathers that were mostly made of polyurethane. In that time, over the past few years, consumers have also made their intentions clear about plastic, and plastic is going out of style.
Still to come on the Sunday 7, how Finland helps its kids online, and we head to Colorado for tarantula mating season.
Right after this.
This Halloween, ghoul all out with Instacart. Whether you're hunting for the perfect costume, eyeing that giant bag of candy, or casting spells with eerie decor, we've got it all in one place. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time, minimum $10 per order, service fees, other fees, and additional terms apply. Instacart, bringing the store to your door this Halloween.
Welcome back.
In a world of misinformation and disinformation, it can be pretty difficult to know who to trust, and as spammers and scammers get increasingly sophisticated, it's a real challenge to keep your data and your information safe online. And if you think it's hard for adults, imagine what it's like for kids. With growing pressure to ban smartphones in schools and concerns over the addictive nature of social media, there's one country who are taking proactive steps to ensure that their youngest citizens are prepared for the online world. That country is Finland, and they've built a comprehensive curriculum for 10-year-olds that is focused on preparing them for the modern world. Lee Anderson is a former Finnish education minister, and she spoke to CBS News about the thinking behind the programme.
I think it should be seen as a civic skill in the current society that we live in, because we all live in an information society nowadays, or it's called an information society, right? But actually some of the information is mis or disinformation. You start from preschool. It's more about familiarizing children also with what the digital world is, to make sure that all children have a sufficient set of digital skills. And on top of that, you also have to teach them how to act in the digitalized world.
Finland's education system is ranked highly, but their school kids' media literacy levels are the highest of any country across Europe, so the curriculum is clearly working. Sonna Lindhau is a primary teacher in Helsinki, and she says it's important that kids still get to enjoy childhood too.
I think that with the Santa Claus, I leave it to the parents. We act together, or we play, we draw. We can live in the fantasy world as well, of course.
We've been following the story of Boeing's Starliner fiasco all summer, which left 2 astronauts stranded on the International Space Station. The Starliner was supposed to be the next generation of space shuttle, capable of flying astronauts up and down to space multiple times. But the first official crewed flight had multiple issues and eventually returned to Earth empty. NASA astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore have been stranded since July, but there was good news this week as a new SpaceX shuttle arrived. The Dragon capsule went up to space with a crew of just 2 to make sure that there were spare seats to bring Butch and Sunny back. The bad news is they're not due to return until February 2025. Astronomer and space commentator Andrew Lound told Sky News that it's been a difficult time for NASA's long-term aviation partner.
I think Boeing are actually quite in a difficult position with this. And it is slightly embarrassing that a new person on the block has overtaken them and is having fully reusable spacecraft quite efficiently. And I think Boeing can come back, but they're going to have to put an awful lot of work into it.
There are really only 2 kinds of people in the world, the kind who will find the next story fascinating and the kind who will probably stop the podcast and run screaming from the house. The question is, which one are you if I say mating tarantulas? The town of La Junta in Colorado is in the middle of a tarantula mating seasons, which means hundreds of male tarantulas are emerging from their burrows and heading into town to meet a lady by drumming gently on the ground to get her attention. It's an annual event that attracts tourists to see the hairy arachnids as they go about their romantic business, and local campaigners are keen to emphasise that the spiders are really no threat to humans and that their venom will only cause mild irritation at worst. Dr. Cara Shillington is a biology professor at Eastern Michigan University who specialises in the study of arachnids.
We are seeing the males walking around looking for females so that they can mate. The female will respond by actually coming out of the burrow and meet the male outside of the burrow. And so his drumming is really to attract the female and let her know that he is there. And then very often she will approach if she is receptive to mating. The temperature is really important. So, usually close to sunrise and sunset, but it also depends on the temperatures. If it's a cooler, cloudier day, you can sometimes see them earlier in the day. If it's a very cold morning, then, a little after sunrise. So you're looking at a combination of both the temperature and also just at that dawn and dusk time.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
If there's one thing that my family and friends know me for, it's being an amazing gift giver. I owe it all to Celebrations Passport from 1-800-Flowers.com, my one-stop shopping site that has amazing gifts for every occasion. With Celebrations Passport, I get free shipping on thousands of amazing gifts. And the more gifts I give, the more perks and rewards I earn. To learn more and take your gift giving to the next level, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.